Blue jays exhibit plenty of variation in color, markings, and behavior, though the differences can be subtle. Another YouTuber, Lesley the Bird Nerd, has produced a fascinating video explaining how to tell blue jays apart visually using members of her local flock. Her video is a direct inspiration for mine, and you should check it out if you haven't seen it already. So many jays visit my feeders, I didn't want to attempt an identification project at first. Some jays may be resident, but others may just be passing through, never to visit again. It would be a huge task to try to identify dozens of individuals. But when the babies fledged last summer, I noticed physical differences between them at a glance. With this smaller population of individuals, it seemed like a fun and feasible project to identify each one. It actually ended up being very, very difficult for me, as my powers of observation are not the greatest. But I think I finally nailed down enough details to finally share with you my long-delayed series on baby blue jays. I recorded my first fledgling of the season on June 30th at the picnic table. Meet Plato. He, possibly she, but I'm going to go with he, has a number of distinguishing features. Note the distinct eyebrow-like marking, a similar marking under the left eye, faint front eye band, especially when compared to the back eye band, crest feathers that stick out noticeably past the crown, faint markings stretching from the corner of his beak to his sideburns. I don't know the technical term, sorry. A narrow band above the beak, triangular white markings on his wings, and a very faint bib marking on the chest. This footage is from 2 days later, and I think this is also Plato. What do you think? July 3rd saw a lot of blue jay traffic at the deck feeder. Meet Jack. Like Plato, he has an eyebrow marking, but Jack's has less of a curve. He also has longish crest feathers. His front eye band, though, sort of smudges into his beak chevron. The white markings on his wings are more rounded. The bib on his chest is barely there, as is the band above his beak. All that said, for me, his most distinguishing characteristic is the very distinct marking from his beak to his sideburns. It reminds me so much of Jack Skellington from The Nightmare Before Christmas that I named the bird after him. And in my notes I refer to this marking as a skellington for all the jays. Jack visited the feeder several times in quick succession. Watch closely. Do you see any other features that might help identify him? Here's Jack with an adult, probably a parent. About an hour later, this baby showed up, probably following a parent. This isn't Jack. Is it Plato? The white feather markings look sort of triangular. He has the same eyebrow marking and faint facial and chest markings. I'm pretty sure this clip shows the same individual. The front eye band looks a little darker and smudgier than Plato's, and the eyebrow marking seems lighter. Let's just call him Orlando for now. I think this adult is also a parent, and she's giving the starling a dirty and menacing look. That's a face that says, "If you mess with my kid, I'll peck you to death." Oh, look, 2 fledglings at once. Note something about this fledgling right away. Distinct bib markings on the chest. Meet Cassandra. Her front eye band is very faint, and her eyebrow marking is barely discernible. That said, the band above her beak, like her bib, is fairly distinct. I don't doubt these 2 are siblings. Now make a quick note of the timestamp here, 5:13:13. At 5:13:19, This bird appears at the picnic table. Is this Plato visiting his old stomping grounds, or Orlando flying in from the deck feeder? Or both? There's a marking underneath this bird's left eye. If you recall, this is something we noticed with Plato. I'm not sure there's a corresponding mark under the right eye. 40 seconds later, a fledgling is perched on the antenna above the deck feeder. The bird at the picnic table would have had time to get here, but I don't see a marking under the left eye, and the front eye band is more distinct. Again, different camera and different lighting, but I still think this is Orlando, not Plato. 16 seconds later. Again, the bird we just saw at the deck feeder did have time to get here, but the front eye band looks fainter to me. Less than a minute later, Madame Cassandra triggers the deck feeder camera. Watch for the distinct bib markings and the almost invisible eyebrow. More Cassandra. Another feature to note is her partial skeleton marking. Half an hour later, this fledgling appears. With the eyebrow marking and invisible bib, this is clearly not Cassandra. Jack is back. Jack's getting a blow dry. The next morning, Jack is the first to breakfast. Cassandra challenges a grackle fledgling. Note that partial skeleton marking again. Watch this, guys. Cassandra just got fed a shelled peanut. Now she tries to open one of her own. The next morning, Jack is once again the first in line for the breakfast buffet. And he comes back for brunch, this time with his sister Cassandra. I think this is Orlando a couple of hours later, scolding a squirrel. This blue jay hops off to a tree behind him, where he's met by two begging babies. In this clip, it appears the fledgling's parents are watching over them at the feeder. I believe Orlando is on the left and Jack is on the right. I was sure this baby was Jack at first. Then I noticed the very dark bib marking on the chest. Despite that, this can't be Cassandra either. Unlike Cassandra, this baby has a clear eyebrow and a full skeleton marking. She also has a very dark band across her face. This is someone new. Meet Xenia. Here she is challenging a juvenile grackle. I really hope you enjoyed this video and that I didn't give anyone a headache with all this detail. On behalf of Xenia here, Plato, Jack, Cassandra, Orlando, Mom and Dad, and myself, thank you for birdwatching.